Welcome on in to another live edition of the Between the Hash Marks podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, and as you can see, I am not in Mobile, Alabama. I am in the football command center of my home office, but my friend, colleague, mentor, the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone managed to escape Winter Storm Fern and make it to the land of the beignets and the meat boss and the deep fried goodness in Mobile, Alabama and the Senior Bowl. Mike Tanier is here live from Mobile. Michael, set the scene for us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Great to be here. I didn't really escape Fern. I got all of Fern and was able to get out after Fern, which you were not able to do because Montgo was probably a little bit of a different situation than Camden County.
A little bit. And the flight situation, just to peel back the curtain a little bit for all the viewers, it was just an absolute nightmare. I wake up to a flight delayed 30 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I still have an hour to navigate the Atlanta airport. This will be fine. About an hour later, it's delayed 45 more minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, I have about 15 minutes to navigate the Atlanta airport. And if anybody's
Yeah,
ever been to Atlanta, getting
yeah.
from Terminal C to Terminal A takes significantly more time than 15 minutes, and the next flight out isn't until 10:45 at night in the middle of a winter storm across the country. So I bagged the trip. Mike is down there. He ate the beignets for me today. I told him to load up on the meat boss for me while you're down there. Have you completed that mission?
I have not completed the Meat Boss mission. Today might be that day. There's a place called Moe's Barbecue I got my eye on instead, though, because it's on the route back and forth, a little bit easier to get to. Completed the beignet mission. And this is Mobile's the city of beignets, it's the city of the Senior Bowl, it's the city of barbecue, the city with the oldest Mardi Gras in America, which is actually starting tomorrow. I got to get it out of Dodge because they're going to be closing streets down for the Mobile Mardi Gras. It's also the city of fountains. And I'm just going to turn around here. If you hear the noise behind me, I am just surrounded by fountains. I wanted to be in the interior courtyard of that very nice hotel I'm staying at, but they're doing the cleaning in there now. So I'm right outside. I'm behind the Mardi Gras Museum. And if I turn this way, there's a nice fountain behind me.
I see.
And if I turn this
It's
way,
definitely a background upgrade. More fountains back there. There's another fountain.
you're going to put the fountains back, okay? By the way, the bench I'm sitting on is the coldest bench in all of Mobile. It's 48 degrees. Oh, that ain't going to work. It's 48 degrees, which is nice compared to what we left. But the benches came with us from Tropical Storm Fern, I think.
Make sure you support Mike Tanier's work. Go ahead and subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. Follow him on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. You can subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack as well. Follow me on Blue Sky at Matt Lombardo NFL. And of course, if you enjoy the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store. Leave us a 5-star review and rating. We read the reviews on the show every single week. Leave us those 5 stars. Let us know what you like, maybe what you don't like. You can rip us a little bit, laugh, put us on blast. We'll read it just for fun, but please leave those 5-star reviews. They really do help grow the show.
Absolutely. And then your support makes it possible for us to do some travel once in a while, to do some live reporting. And I did get to see some of the players yesterday out there on the practice field at the Senior Bowl.
Set the scene for us. Who's standing out? Who's impressed you so far? Because I remember from Senior Bowls past, this is all about a couple of positions. It's the running backs because their burst shines through because they're not tackling to the ground. It's the wide receivers and defensive backs because you get these great one-on-ones. And it's the offensive and defensive linemen down in the pit. So who stood out from the practices that you've been able to see so far?
Well, when you talk about the defensive linemen in the pit, there's about 20 of them. And I got my notebook here, so I have to be careful. I'm going to mess them all up. TJ Parker is somebody that I think a lot of people knew coming down here. He's a Clemson guy, looked like a first-round pick in 2024, tailed off in 2025. He got down into the pit, those one-on-one drills, and it was more on Tuesday. I saw a little bit of them yesterday, but on Tuesday before I got down here, guys were talking about dusted a couple people, just dusted a couple linemen, demonstrated, yes, he's got that kind of talent. He's got that kind of first-round talent. It's there. And now, NFL people are going to say, okay, where's the consistency with this kid? But usually when you've got that upside, that gets you in the first round. But the name you're going to be hearing about for the next 3 months, the draft binky of draft binkies, is going to be Tyron Montgomery of John Carroll University. Now, are you ready for a tale here?
Yes, so I got my coffee, got my nitro cold brew. I'm going to let you tell the tale, set the scene of his Mobile dominance.
Okay, so the scene of his Mobile dominance is before I got down here, he made this Randy Moss-like catch, and then when I was down there, I was able to see them. He made another Randy Moss like catch where he climbs a ladder and just scoops the ball away from a D1 cornerback in the end zone for a long touchdown. Then makes another catch later on. Now here's who this kid is. Like John Carroll University is D3 out of Cleveland. This young man was a high school basketball player. Got done his high school career, walked on basketball at LSU, had a family illness, then had some grade issues, walked off LSU. So he's playing in the backyard football, which he never played, like tossing the ball around with his brother. His brother says, "You're really talented. Why don't you do some football?" So he puts video of himself catching footballs on Facebook. Gets discovered by a flag football coach who's doing tournaments. Goes to a Vegas flag football tournament, wins that tournament, or plays extremely well, uses the flag football videos to go back and send that out to teams, sends one to Nicholls State, where he plays like 1 year at Nicholls State, but gets hurt.
Yeah.
Now, Nicholls State's pretty far down the list, right? Gets hurt, runs out of eligibility with the NCAA, and that doesn't count for D3. You can play D3. You have, the rules are different. Goes to John Carroll College that none of us have ever heard of, although Don Shula graduated there of all people. Has like, I think it was 32 touchdown passes in 2 seasons. If you look up on YouTube, the video, his name is Tyron Montgomery. It's hysterical. It looks like, Coach Prime went out there with Pop Warner kids. Like, that's what it looks like in this video. So it's like, okay, he went to the America Bowl, which is one of those little minor league bowls, stands out there. They call him up for the Senior Bowl because some prospects couldn't get here. Some prospects got stowed in and couldn't get here. So he gets the call up and has been mossing everyone in practice. He's only 5'11 and 3/4, so he's 6 feet, but he looks like he's 6'3 out there. He just looks bigger. He looks faster. Unbelievable story. Unbelievable athlete. He's an older guy. He's like 24 now. He was like went through all these things. He's never been tackled by like a non-Nicholls State opponent level. So there's a lot of questions there. But right now, in terms of the buzz, the enthusiasm around this guy, it's off the charts.
And even if he gets drafted, right? Even if he becomes a 5th-round pick, so to speak,
Yep.
In April's draft, because of what he's done in Mobile,
Right.
that becomes the poster child for this game moving forward
Yeah.
from here, right? And we all hear about it. The signs are everywhere down there. The draft starts in Mobile. This kid's
Yeah.
career might be launched by what he's doing during Senior Bowl week. And you have to think about everything that had to go wrong for everybody else, everything that had to go right after a certain point in his career just to get here. That's like
Right.
the ultimate success story of success stories, and definitely now going to be a name to watch as we look ahead to the draft in the months ahead.
And you're right. He's probably somebody who's going to be a day 3 pick. But if he comes to your team, you're going to be hearing this story. And you're going to be seeing him, and you watch your practices, you watch your preseason game. Guys come up, and maybe they don't wind up being superstars in the end. They don't look like the Randy Moss they look like for a few days down here. They wind up in the NFL for a couple of years. I don't have a bunch of names off the top of my head. Devon Vele comes to mind as somebody who's been playing in the NFL, who was an older guy who came from a non-traditional route, enters the NFL. These guys come out, they make their contribution, and sometimes they do turn out to be, the cliche, the diamond in the rough, the discovered gem or whatever. They wind up being that guy.
Oh, for sure. And you just think back to last year during the Senior Bowl, there was a lot of buzz and a lot of expectations around Tez Johnson coming out of Oregon with the speed. Didn't have a great week, still gets chosen in the 7th round by the Buccaneers and becomes a meaningful contributor. He was their best receiver for a 2 or 3 week stretch this season. So it just goes to show you, even if your path is unorthodox, even if you're not a guy who's drafted early, just get to a game like this, get drafted, get into a camp, and you just don't know what's going to happen from there.
We were gaga last year about Elijah Arroyo, who had injuries at Miami, and there's like questions about whether his speed was really his speed. And he comes out and has this great week there, and he might be active for the Super Bowl. He's been injured. He was a contributor earlier in the season, got hurt. He might be active for the Super Bowl as one of the weapons for Sam Darnold, the Seattle Seahawks.
Now, the 2 edge rushers that I kind of had my eye on, I'm not sure if you've been able to, to see them so far yet, was Denai Dennis Sutton out of Penn State and TJ Parker out of Clemson. Those were the 2 biggest names that jumped off the page for me from a skill set, explosiveness standpoint. Have you seen anything from either one of those guys or any of the other edge rushers? Because that always seems to be a position group that comes out of Mobile and produces some real talent.
I saw a lot of Parker. I did not see a lot of the Penn State edge rusher yesterday. I don't know why. And keep in mind, I was down here for one practice, 2 hours, and sometimes we go in a couple of different directions trying to figure out what's what along the way. So just because I didn't see the rep, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not doing well. Right. And I don't have my eye on all the Penn State guys all the time.
No, I know, but Dennis Sutton was a guy who, going into this
Right.
past year, he came back, even though he was pegged as a first or second round talent. And to see him wind up in a game like this, I was just curious how he was helping
Yeah.
himself. But I thought that Parker, looking at his tape out of the kid out of Clemson, looked like he was
Yeah.
going to be the guy that was going to step in and be the kid that dominates in a way that like Mike Green did last year from in those one-on-ones.
Yeah, he's definitely had a situation like that. The kid White, I'm going to mess these names up here, and I apologize. I want to get this correct here, and I just completely bollocks his name. But give me one moment here.
Yeah.
Height, Romello Height from Texas Tech. Somebody when you watch he's going to jump out of you watch film on him, and he had 1 or 2 reps yesterday where he just put this. He's got this big swim move, like a Michael Phelps with his arms swim move, and he put it on a guy yesterday and got right past him and would have sacked the quarterback in an 11-on-11. He's someone to keep in mind. Your Penn State running backs are down here. I did not see a lot of them. I think one of the big things is it's Katron Allen, right?
Yep, Katron Allen. It was the school's all-time leading rusher.
All-time leading rusher, more rushing yards than Saquon and Curtis Enos and Blair Thomas, and was sharing Rutherford. Yeah, Kurt was sharing time with Rutherford the whole time, right?
Yeah, it was Singleton. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Singleton. Yeah, they weighed in at about the same weight, which was interesting because I think, Allen is like the smaller guy.
Yeah,
but all the weights like down in his thighs. He's all thighs. Yeah, so I didn't get to see a lot of them do their practices. By the time you get to 11-on-11s, it was like they were rotating backs in and out. You see a guy for 1 rep, et cetera. Also, the defense is ahead of the offense. So running back gets the ball and there's 5 guys waiting for him. You get a little bit of that. But they're down here. They're participating as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting week, and to see what comes through for the rest of practices. Anybody else standing out? Any other really cool stories from media day? I saw you spoke with the kid from Auburn who said that he plays like whistles don't exist. I thought that was the kind of attitude that's going to make the antenna stand up on both ends for defensive coordinators around the league.
I love that quote. I had another kid that said, "Well, how do you describe yourself?" And he's like, "Rottweiler, pit bull, dog, anything that bites you." I just started cracking up because he knows it's a cliche, and he's kind of shrugging like, dude, I'm just, I'm that guy. But that was an interesting conversation. You're going to hear a lot and see a lot. The picture I took went viral, frankly, on Blue Sky of Jennings Dunker, offensive lineman from Iowa. So if you hear the name Jennings Dunker from Iowa, offensive lineman, and you close your eyes, and you think of like, okay, is that like Hagar the Horrible? Is it like this crazy red hair and a big mustache, like this guy who's like a Viking marauder? Yeah, that's him. That's him. Now, for some of these guys, I've got to go back. I got to do a little more research on the guys. I know that there was talk about him. Like, yeah, he's a good day 2 type of guy. I did see him out there looking okay in reps. So, but like that's part of the process here. You get the conversation, you write the number down and the name, and then you go back, sit down when you're at your desk, and you do more of the research to get caught up to say, okay, was this a fun story? It's a fun story to day 3 guy, or is the potential day 1 guy a potential star?
Exactly. That's what's so great about this event. I'm glad you're down there. I'm sad that I was not able to make the trek. But the big story that's dominating NFL discussion and discourse this week is the absolute debacle with the Pro Football Hall of Fame and Bill Belichick failing to secure 80% of the votes. And you and I both wrote stories about this. Yours was tremendous, and it really peeled the curtain back on the process and how this happened and how it was possible and why it's an indictment on the Hall of Fame and its structure and the way that the voting is taking place every year. I spoke with some of the voters, as you did. It just seems like, and I'm leading 4 downs with this on Monday. It seems like there's no winners here. The Hall of
No.
Fame and its
Yeah.
process lost out, and it was exposed as carrying itself as the Hall of Exclusivity rather than the Hall of Fame. The
Yeah.
voters lost out for overthinking this, thinking that Bill
Yeah.
Belichick was a sure thing, so you could afford to vote for a Roger Craig or a L.C. Greenwood or an Otis Anderson because Bill was going to get in and be fine. And to be frank, the fact that Bill Belichick, according to Pro Football Talk, leaked this, and that's how this whole conjecture fired up here when he's not supposed to tell anybody until the results come out. If that's the case, nobody wins here, in my opinion.
Nobody wins. And one of the things I found gross is Pro Football Hall of Fame puts out that missive yesterday that basically says, well, we'll punish the leaker. Well, I gotta, yeah, like the real enemy here is whoever told Bill Belichick. And remember, there's a couple of our colleagues who have very good relationship with Bill Belichick and probably took him aside. And Belichick should be able to, he should be able to handle secrets as well. This is Mr. Secrets, and he goes out there and like, oh well, you know, I'm gonna leak this secret. But Hall of Fame. Imagine if this came out next week, it would overshadow all the guys who got put in. The league did your asses a favor by making this week's news so that when they make the announcement of who gets into the Hall of Fame next week, we've already done 99% of this. Because I guarantee you, all the things you wrote, I wrote, everybody wrote, everybody who has a column wrote, would just be coming out and it would be overshadowing Roger Craig. It would be overshadowing whoever's in this class of 2026. So that leaker did you a favor. It exposed your BS. And the idea you're going to be like, well, we're going to come after you and we're going to take away your right to vote. If I were a voter and I got it taken away under these circumstances, I would consider that a badge of honor. Badge of honor, yes, take it away from me. Get me out of your, your chicken outfit here, so to speak. And oh no, you took away this great honor from me. Forever, I'll be the guy who lost it because I was like, you know what? This is a miscarriage of justice. I'm just going to let Bill Belichick know about it because it's so weird. And that's where we end up.
Yeah, and again, it's easy to start your ballot with Bill Belichick, but I also think there needs to be a defense of the voters here because it's an impossible task, right? And you think about this, coaches like a Bill Belichick, like a Mike Holmgren, who didn't meet the threshold to get in last year, like a Tom Coughlin, like a Mike Shanahan, who now all get tossed into the same pool again with Bill Belichick next year. Coaches impact the game a certain way. Robert Kraft, eventually Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, whoever, they impact the game in a certain way. Senior players who have been on the ballot forever, like Greenwood and like Otis Anderson and like Roger Craig, they impact the game a certain way. Break out the categories. There's no hard, fast rule. Moses did not come down with the tablet and say the Hall of Fame class can only be 6 people and 6 people only. Right? Have a vote for Belichick and other coaches. Have a vote for the seniors. Have a vote for the contributors. And you wouldn't be in this mess. You wouldn't be in this situation. And you would actually honor the players who have had to wait to be on the senior vote, the senior committee. You would honor the coaches who are most deserving. Certainly, maybe the coach who embodies being a first ballot Hall of Famer more than anyone else, and the owners and the contributors who propelled the sport forward. You don't need to lump them into the same category. So I hear all of these missives being fired at the voters who say, the voters are punishing Bill Belichick because it wasn't nice to them. Bullshit. That's not what happened. And if it did and it was 1 or 2 people, okay, that's fine. You deal with those 1 or 2 people. But it wasn't 11 people who decided they were going to carry a grudge. It was the system that failed everybody involved because the Hall of Fame wants to be sanctimonious with their small classes.
Right. And these rules change every couple of years and they've gotten much more restrictive in the last year or two. But the rules on seniors and the rules on coaches and contributors, they keep changing. These were not the rules 10 years ago. The rules 10 years ago also sucked, but they just replaced them with a different set of confusing, sucky rules that have these trap doors in them. And, definitely 2 or 3 of those voters, one of the fellow from Kansas City, whose name escapes me now, said, I was voting for Greenwood, Craig, and Anderson. That's what I was voting for. And there is a legitimate risk that if you don't vote for a senior, they go into oblivion forever. If Belichick will be back next year, but Roger Craig might go into oblivion for years. Like the soul's in purgatory for the seniors. And it's like, that shouldn't be a consideration. Now, I mean, honestly, if I'm sitting there in good faith, I have to put Belichick's name first. I can stick Robert Kraft wherever, but I have to put Belichick's name first. And then I've got to say, okay, which of the 3 seniors don't I put in? It shouldn't be that choice for the voter, who then has to be the one that they're on the front facing. Nobody knows there's a Hall of Fame board of directors.
Right.
No one knows any of these humans. They know the people we know. I'm not going to start listing names. They know our fellow writers and colleagues, so they go after them. They assume it's them. And 78% of them said, yes, Bill Belichick, this is obvious. And a couple of them, for one reason or another, did another thing. And now we're stuck in the fiasco.
And I will say that maybe we should have seen some of this coming, because since hitting publish on my story yesterday, I've had people inside the league basically say, how can you overlook the cheating? How can you overlook the fact? And this is from a scout who told me they were afraid to talk strategy in their locker room when they played in New England, right? Because the locker room was allegedly bugged. How can you overlook the fumbles that Deflategate prevented? You talk to the voter who I spoke to last year about Andy Reid, who insisted that I call them on the phone and include the line of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes don't have Spygate and Deflategate on their resume. I do think that within that room, there are people who hold on to the cheating scandals and use that as, in their opinion, and maybe rightfully so, justification for keeping Bill Belichick out. And if that's their conviction, I can't tell you not to vote with your conscience, but I don't think that the
Right.
system should be set up to reward the 4, 5, or 6 people who are voting that way to keep somebody with Belichick's overall body of work, 8 Super Bowl rings, second winningest coach of all time, out of the Hall of Fame, at least on the first ballot.
No, right. Al Davis is in the Hall of Fame, and he's
Right.
he's somewhere in the afterlife right now, bugging us right now, listening to him. Some of this stuff is it's possibly urban legend level stuff. Some of it is real, of course. I think Spygate was real. Deflategate, Tom Brady was guilty, folks. I hate to tell you this, but getting off of all that, the thing is, the conversation in the room, and you probably heard what I heard. There was somebody who spoke about the scandal. The person speaking about the scandals was not out there with their fist pumping, banging the shoe on the table, fighting. It was more along the lines of saying we need to make sure that we are clear that we're talking about these things, that we remember these things happen, and that we should consider them in the vote. And said it in a way that, from what I was told, very responsible, rational, devil's advocate. Here's the prosecuting attorney coming forth to put evidence before you, even if the case isn't very strong. And that the room's conversation afterwards was a little bit like, yeah, okay. No one knew. And in the past, like for T.O., they knew, oh, there's a fight. We're going to talk about Eli. They know there's a fight. No one knew there's a fight. So this happened by accident. No one of the 78% had said, well, we better stand up and fight back from this. It's like, well, what you said was reasonable. I think most of us are going to be fine. That's fine. But like, look at this body of work. If you don't know there's a fight, then there's a problem. Excuse me, I got to cough like a madman.
No problem. And you and I spoke about this on a phone call on Tuesday night after this news went down. And my theory, and I wrote it, there might have been, the 3 or 4 hardline, I'm not voting him in because of Deflategate and Spygate voters. But then there might have been a handful of people in that room who decided they were going to vote the other way, not realizing that 80% of them were voting the other way. And that to me is another flaw, that this isn't an up-down vote, that it isn't publicly made knowledgeable. And it seems like, I think that the horse might have gotten out of the barn without any of the voters realizing the direction this was heading.
Yeah, you're the Cincinnati voter. That's like, well, I got to vote for Ken Anderson. And now, in good conscience, if I'm voting for Anderson, well, Greenwood was a contemporary, and he sacked Anderson 5 times. And you check those boxes, it's like, this is fine. Again, you don't know there's a fight. You don't know. We don't think in our brains. I got a math degree of 80%. How much 80% is? How 4 out of 5? How high that bar is set? You figure, well, we got like a majority, a super majority, whatever you want to call it. It'll be good for me to kind of do my own thing and take care of my constituency by voting for the local guy or whatever. And now we're in this mess again. That I don't 100% agree with that, for the record, but that's how you get here. And that is all on the Hall. And it's all because, again, they want to appease prime time. And they want to appease all these old gold jacket guys who go in there and say, well, in my day, we were tough. And now these guys nowadays are a bunch of wussies, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, we want to be cool like you. We love hanging around with you. That's why we gave you these gold jackets and these busts and everything like that. Here, we'll change it. And we just make this cockamamie set of rules that, and then we're going to shift gears here to Eli. Not
Yeah.
different case. But when the bar is set this high, good luck if you're somebody who actually has a fight against you, who has like a dedicated group of cabal of people. It's like, I don't think you should get in. Good luck with that when the bar is set this high.
And I think it is worth rehashing your takeaways from conversations with voters last year about Eli Manning, because you start to look at what's coming down the pike. You're quickly going to run into the Drew Breeses, next year. You're quickly going to eventually run into Philip Rivers. You're going to run into Tom Brady. There's going to be a logjam that with Eli Manning not getting in last year, or according to Ian O'Connor of ESPN, not getting in this year, which I think is the right move, because I don't know that I will put Eli Manning in before those other quarterbacks. It's now going to be a situation where Eli Manning might not get in, might have to wait 5, 10, 15 years before you clear out the quarterbacks with superior resumes and more rings on the fingers than he has.
Yeah, and then it becomes gross because you've got somebody on the finalist stage for year after year after year. Now, I think Eli can handle it because he's super famous and these other elements. When there's a guy on the finalist list whose only thing is that they're like a Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist, it can be heartbreaking year after year after year. You wait for the knock on the door. You wait to find out you're in. You're left out. 8 years go by. You're like, what's going on? And some of these guys are in private life. They're not on television. But, the thing with Eli is I get the impression, I'm not a big Eli for Hall of Fame guy. I don't think he meets the bar. I don't want to go to war over it, because it's like, I also know what he did.
Right.
He's the kind of guy where 10, 12 years from now, when we were even older and grayer, and some of the folks we talk to are, not really relevant anymore. Younger people are going to be like, what do you mean Eli Manning's not in the Hall of Fame? That's crazy. He's the guy who beat the Patriots twice. I saw him on TV. He still does commercials. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? It's fine for them to put him in. But the thing is, if he's going to be sitting there and he's going to be on the ballot year after year after year, that's a level of disrespect in itself. Kyle Van Noy wrote a thing. He's got a Substack. Kyle Van Noy played for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he this is about disrespect. And for Belichick, it's a level of disrespect. And I want to say this on the record since I'm sitting here. When I make Belichick jokes, I make fun of him or whatever, I know I'm a very, very tiny person shooting spitballs at a statue. I recognize that. I'm a silly little man. He's super famous, super powerful. I'm taking jokes at him. I never mean it out of disrespect for what he means to football, what he means for football history, what he accomplished. I'm just out here, being a smartass. I'm being the court jester. When you deny him the Hall of Fame, you're showing disrespect. You're a little person pulling a lever that has a big impact on someone more powerful than you. And I would say to all of my colleagues out there, use that lever very wisely, because it makes you look small when you pull it.
Yeah, I don't think so. This was the time to pull the lever.
No.
I don't necessarily agree that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer based on anything other than the 2 Super Bowl wins and the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. That to me, that's the case. And I think that the most likely outcome when you talk to people in the room who make those decisions, when you trust your eye test for the rest of his career and you look around at when was Eli Manning even the best quarterback in the NFC East, you start to wonder if the resume is anything other than those 2 runs. They happened. You can't take them away. Any other quarterback and any quarterback, that's the pillar of your resume. And I think that we're going to find ourselves in a situation where Eli Manning might be inducted into the Hall of Fame after a Philip Rivers, after a Drew Brees, after a Tom Brady, or he gets in as a senior candidate 20 years down the line. But I don't think that he's going to meet the threshold of a modern day candidate when you have all of these other outstanding candidates from other positions who were more dominant, more vital to their team's success with stronger overall bodies of work than Eli Manning's 2 playoff Super Bowl MVP runs.
And that's the thing. I think he makes more sense as a senior candidate. You go back later and you look at it, maybe it looks different. Maybe another generation it looks at it differently. What happens in the room, and it's probably going to be happening probably next year with Eli, they start to look at each other and say, we can't have the same argument over and over again. It's like, less filling tastes great. You can't solve it. A bunch of guys stand up and say 2 Super Bowls. And a bunch of guys says he wasn't that good other than the 2 Super Bowls. You can't have there's nothing new to add to the argument. So if you're having the
Right.
same argument over and over again, you almost have to get him out of the room. And the two ways to get him out of the room is say, don't get the finalists. And I don't know if that's going to happen because that requires these guys to vote in a certain way in all these preliminary votes, or just run them in. I don't think anyone wants to run them in. And you're right. Drew Brees is going to breeze past them. I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to make the Hall of Fame, frankly. Obviously, Brady's a different situation. Although I can't say obviously.
I meant Roethlisberger. I thought that
Roethlisberger,
probably
yeah.
has a better case than Phillip Rivers. That was a misspeak on my part.
Right. But now we have this crazy high standard where we might be talking about 2 and 3 person of the regular pool, 2 or 3 person a group. And all that's going to do is backlog more guys. And now I can't say obviously about anyone, because if someone gets up with Tom Brady and brings up Deflategate or some other thing, I mean, it sounded ludicrous 72 hours.
What do you think happens there? Because I've had a lot of people, fans, family members, bus stop dads, if they can keep Belichick out for 1 year because of Spygate, do they punish and do they keep Tom Brady out a year because of Deflategate? And I think that's on the table. I don't think it should be. I think Tom Brady should waltz into the Hall of Fame because he embodies that Patriot era in a more significant way than what Bill Belichick does, in my opinion. He won a Super Bowl in Tampa, but there might now be a world where Tom Brady waits a year.
See, 72 hours ago, I would have laughed at you for this entire time. You can't. Now, the one thing is, after this, all the voters looking at this, the Hall of Fame committee looking at this, they're like, do we want this? So they will change rules. They will close ranks. They will do something about this. So I don't think that will happen. But that's only because Belichick kind of was the fart in the room. And now it's like, we better make sure we have plenty of air freshener because we can't have another fart like this. It's even worse with Brady. So I don't think it happens, but now it's on the table as a possibility.
I agree. Mike, I know you got to run the practice down there in Mobile. What do you have coming up on the Two Deep Zone? What can folks expect coming out of Mobile?
I do have a Senior report coming, a Senior Bowl report coming. I don't know when. It'll come out. And starting next week, because again, neither of us are going to Santa Clara. I am not disappointed considering how crazy travel has been. It looks like we ducked that storm. That storm that was coming this weekend looks like it's fizzling, right?
Yes, it's staying out to sea. It's Bombo cycloning out to sea.
Bomb cyclone can go cyclone. Yes, somewhere in the Atlantic. We can get home. But I am going to be doing, I know you do a thing where you go around each team by team. You do 3 things for the offseason. I do a slight variation. That's sillier later, a little more about like the cap and stuff like that. I'm going to be doing that because next week we got the time. We're not going to be running around. We're not going to be on shuttles. Let's talk about the rest of the league a little bit, and we'll talk about the Seahawks, and we'll talk about the Patriots a little bit as well. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, we have a pretty fun schedule. We have the mailbag coming out tomorrow where folks can drop their questions to me and I'll pose them to NFL executives, coaches, scouts, agents, and the sort and answer them in the column tomorrow. And then next Tuesday, I am going to, and you're going to feature prominently in this, my friend. We're going to have to talk about this on the pod. My top 10 moments and memories from covering 5 Super Bowls on the road. A little bit of a retrospective of the first part of my career. We will have the key matchups that will determine Seahawks versus Patriots next Wednesday, and probably a feature on one of the players looking to make a significant impact in the outcome for next Thursday or Friday. But I'm really excited. Going to have some fun with the top 10 moments of covering 5 Super Bowls so far.
I know mac and cheese in Atlanta is on the list. It's 1,000,000% on the. Now, we went to that one joint downtown. Did you go to the Mary Mac's with me that time, or was that Doug and Aaron?
We did, and I got the cinnamon rolls as a dinner roll. Remember, you could pick what.
Oh gosh, okay.
I picked the cinnamon buns.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so yes, I know the sheer amount of mac and cheese as an appetizer for dessert. As a cocktail, as a bath. I know that's on the list.
It's one of the top ones, and I'm excited to get that out there so the people can enjoy it as well. He's Mike Tanier. Get over to Hancock Whitney Stadium, cover the practices, ski it away. I'll re-skeet, I'll reshare, I'll post notes, all those things. Follow Mike on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. Subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. I'm Matt Lombardo. Please go ahead and subscribe to Between the Hashmarks on Substack. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Leave those 5-star reviews. Enjoy your week, everybody. Enjoy Mobile. Have some meatballs or some barbecue or some mac and cheese for me, Mike, and safe travels getting back here at the end of the week.
Meatballs or something like it is coming soon.